there's an anonymous question that came in from the email, I'm pretty sure. I was wondering if I could ask an anonymous question here rather than the Facebook group. If you were receiving an inheritance after you've retired and reached age 60, can you open a second super/pension account, so not accumulation, and put the inheritance straight in there rather than in an existing super fund? The reason for this would be to keep each fund, this is interesting, under the 1.9 million, which is the balance transfer cap, which is from 1st of July will be increasing to 2 million. Also, if this is possible and the second one was deposited in one go after 60, would it then be exempt to tax for my children if I was to die? Where the dollars in the other pension account, which would have come from an accumulation fund, would be taxed to my kids if I die, if I did the transfer every 3 years into another pension account. So a lot there. My first view is, Martin, there's a few crossed wires there. So maybe we can strip back and get back to some fundamentals to help Anonymous understand. So do you want to take it from...
I can take it from the top. If I'm 60 and retired and start to draw a pension and all of a sudden at 65 or 70 I get an inheritance, can I put more money into super? The short answer to that is yes. You can keep making, as long as you're eligible, non-concessional or voluntary contributions to super up until the age of 75, irrespective of whether you've retired or not, or irrespective of whether you've started a pension or not.
And I just want to flag when she, because I know I saw her name, can you open another super/pension account in brackets, not accumulation? So just the nerdy technical thing, anytime you open a super account, it's default in accumulation. And often, but maybe you can correct me on this, not always, most products, if you wanted to start a superannuation pension, can you rock up to funds and be like, I've got $1 million, put this straight into a pension, or will it always go through the super accumulation door, even if it's for half a day?
It depends on which product you're using. Some of them will need a whole application for accumulation. Many of them now, and I suppose particularly the wrap or more advisor products, you can do a pension application.
From day one.
And what they will do is they'll wash it through their trustee account, and so it'll be an accumulation for 12 seconds.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, on the nerdy level, it always will go through the accumulation door.
Whether it's two different forms, old school, or whether it's, but yes, even that they would need to put it through an accumulation for 10 or 12 seconds.
Yep.
But that's more seamless than 10 days later send this other form in.
Yeah. And then put the inheritance straight into rather than an existing super fund. Okay, so is the crossed wires here, the 1.9, are we assuming that's the balance transfer cap? Or is there another 1.9 figure that I'm not
No, I think that'd be the
aware
transfer balance cap that she's referring to, Anonymous is referring to. So what that's about is, again, we've discussed this on a separate podcast, but how much can I move into pension phase? And therefore, if someone has already used that 1.9, what I said before, if you can do it up to 75, is kind of off the table now. I.e., if you've already got 1.9 or $2 million in pension phase, can I go and put an extra 360 in? No, you can't. You've already got too much in super. But that's actually, again, I'll try not to get too boring or too excited, but that's actually as a result of your total super balance being too high, not your actual transfer balance cap. They are the same figure, but they're two different actually tests.
Yeah, okay, but either way, both of them are a global individual level, not a fund level.
Correct. If you've got one fund with 2 mil and another fund with 0, you still can't, I've got nothing in this fund. As a member, as an individual, you've still got your 2 million or your 1.9.
And I think this is probably why we're such advocates for personal financial advice, because Anonymous is clearly in the Facebook group, listens to the podcast, sees all this stuff, knows conceptually that we can, if money is quarantined here, we might be able to get paid tax-free and this here and this there. But at the end of the day, it really wouldn't matter if all this was in the one account in terms of the wash-up of tax for the children or the adult cis beneficiaries.
No, I think we come back to that. But even stepping back, like you mentioned there, if Fund 1 has already got your pension at 2 mil and you go to Fund 2 and go, can I put 360 into here? They're probably going to say, yeah, no worries, put the 360 in because they don't know about the other fund.
Yeah, but the chickens will come home.
6 or 9 or 12 months later, the ATO reconciles because Fund 1 and 2 send it to the ATO and they go, oh, you've got too much. You can't do that. They'll contact the second fund and go, hey, or they'll contact the member, but the fund and go, hey, you need to reverse that transaction. Oh, by the way, that's been in here for 9 months. These earnings and these tax-free earnings, you've got to adjust that. You've got to pay us all this extra tax. And so, yeah, you might be able to accidentally get away with it, but you're not going to know for 6 or 12 months later, and all of a sudden this money gets refunded. You've actually got to pay this extra tax because it's been in their tax-free status when it shouldn't have. So,
because, sorry, you keep going.
I mean, and it's not the second fund's fault. It's not their responsibility. It's the member's responsibility to know this.
Yeah. And then she went on to say whether the money in the other pension account would have come from my accumulation fund.
It might have taxable components.
Taxable components, unless if I die, unless I did the transfer every 3 years into a pension account. So
I think re-contribution there.
But you'd only do that once.
If you've got a large balance, and so I think the essence of that question of, let's say I've got
every 3 years when the caps reset. Yeah.
So part of what we're talking about then is if you've got 1.92 mil, you can't do this anymore. But let's bring it back. Let's say we've misinterpreted and we've only got $1 million in pension. Can you go and put 360 into a new pension? Yes. If you go and put that into a second fund, that would be a 100% tax-free pension and then your kids would inherit that tax-free. Whereas your other one might have taxable components. That I agree with that's correct. But if you put 360 in with that million and you had one fund worth 1.36 million.
There's a pro rata.
Still pro rata.
Yeah.
There's not actually more or less tax. You're not quarantining it, and she's probably quarantining it with 2 different funds, but it doesn't go, this is majority taxable, so it's all taxable. They still pro rata it. They still underneath have the components. So I probably, in saying that, I'm working on a strategy now where we are setting up 2 separate funds to quarantine it. Unless you know you can get close to zero, I probably wouldn't sweat about having 2 different funds. Again, horses for courses, how important that is for you. But
the thing is,
it's prorated, so you're no worse off. It's more around if you're going to keep recycling and maybe get yourself closer to zero.
But this every 3 years doing these strategies, you will end up capping out at your age anyway, or potential super balance.
Yeah. So I'm back the opposite.
And
of
how
what
much paperwork do you want?
So if you're 74. You're not going to have enough years.
No.
So you just put it all in one. But if you're, say, 65, let's go down this path. You set up a second fund, that's all tax-free. You've got your other million in your taxable. In 3 years' time, you take 360 out of your taxable, you go and put the 360 in your tax-free fund. So now that's up to 700 odd, and your million's down to 700. You're 68. So at 71, you do it again. You take the 360 out, you move it to your second fund. That's now $1 million tax-free. The other one's, call it magically 360 taxable. At 74, you do it again. So you've got that 10-year window to move it all from taxable to tax-free. That's by why you would run 2 separate accounts to do that if you've got the window to do that. And if that's your priority, that can be pretty substantial. If you're not going to have enough, years on the board to get it done, or it's not a high priority, it's then about, is it worthwhile having 2 accounts and paying, an extra couple $100 a year in admin fees and the headaches of having 2 accounts versus one? That's up to you, I suppose.
In terms of this strategy with the inheritance, it's like, okay, if it's an $8 million inheritance, you're probably not dicking around doing this stuff because it really just isn't moving the needle.
Comes down the wash, yeah.
But I think it's circumstantial on the amount. If the inheritance just stayed outside of super for the kids, they can inherit it tax-free, but they just get a cost base, right?
if it sits in cash the whole time,
Yeah.
it's fine. If you go and buy some shares or a diversified fund,
Well, we're not probably going to have money in cash for next.
I would hope not, but you never know. You buy it, you put it in your principal place of residence tax-free. So, yeah, but if you go and invest it like a super fund, you're going to have some taxable income while you're alive, and then you're going to pass on an inherited cost base, and then your children get advice as to when and how they should sell or deal with that. But the idea of moving into super, you should be first or second on the list. Am I eligible to move into super? No, I'm not because I've already got too much. Okay, well, that's off the table. Or yes, I am. Do I put it in the same fund? Do I put it in a separate fund? But step one is check if you are eligible first.
Well, I think Anonymous, the thing that will probably just have a big reset is it reads here like she thinks the 1.9 million is fund level, not global. So that would probably cause her to rethink everything, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.